Okay, guys, welcome everybody to this new episode here in LawGeex with the CEO and founder. So welcome to this episode of interviewing startups. Tell me a little bit, introduce yourself, who are you?
Okay, great. Thanks for having us. I'll tell you a bit about myself. Noory Bechor. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of LawGeex. My background is business and legal. I was a business lawyer for several years working at one of the biggest law firms in Israel, representing many startups, VCs, all types of big and small guys, all around contracts and transactions. After doing that for a couple of years, I decided that I want to become an entrepreneur. And I also understood that the way the legal world was operating completely didn't make sense. So I combined both these things, my desire to disrupt the legal industry and my desire to be an entrepreneur, and founded LawGeex. With the idea behind LawGeex being that no one should ever sign anything they don't understand.
Okay, very cool. So tell me, you had some recent developments in terms of fundraising. You had a very interesting offer of reviewing your employee contract for free. Tell me a little bit more about that. How is that even possible?
So I'll tell you a bit about LawGeex. LawGeex is the pioneer in automated contract review. What we have is an online platform where people upload contracts that they need to sign, both personal and business contracts. Our algorithm reads the contract, understands what the contract is about, and then compares it to a database of many other similar contracts. That way, we can very much the way a lawyer's brain works, we can identify issues in the contract. So when we compare it to the database, we identify discrepancies and problems. We tell you, for example, what's missing in your contract, things which are very common in other similar contracts and are missing from yours. For example, let's say we're talking about an apartment you want to rent here in Tel Aviv. We'll review your contract and tell you, listen, it's missing your ability to bring an alternate tenant and leave the contract and leave the apartment. This is very common. It appears in 95% of the contracts in our database. You don't have it. And for anything that we'll flag for you, we'll give you two things. One is a statistical benchmark of how common or uncommon it is, and plain English explanation, translating the legalese from the contract to plain English explanation. So we'll tell you what's missing in the contract. We'll even tell you what's inside the contract and might put you at risk. Things which are very uncommon in contracts of this type and are included in yours. So if we continue with our rent contract example, we'll tell you that the landlord can kick you out without notice. And this is very uncommon. It only appears in 3% of the contracts in our database. And the idea here is, again, to take people that don't have a legal background and give them all of the tools that they need to make more informed decisions on their own. So going back to the employment contract that you mentioned, we earlier in April we released a new version of LawGeex, and we made a strategic decision of following on our slogan, which is legal to the people. We said, let's give free contract review for individuals, for personal use. We started off with employment contracts, so now anyone can come upload this employment contract to LawGeex and get a free contract review with all of the feedbacks. We are going to release more contract categories soon for personal use. The next one is going to be residential leases, and then we'll be adding more and more categories completely for free. The other side of the business is we are analyzing business contracts for a certain fee, and we're offering different types of subscription levels, starting from $79 a month and going up to a couple of hundreds of dollars per month, depending on the amount of contracts that your business has.
So that's very interesting. I spoke to a few lawyers about the idea, some of my friends, and they obviously don't want to be named by their name, but they wanted to ask, how is it possible that like you in jeans, which I think is cool, but like compared to like a regular classy lawyer in suit and tie, is comparable and especially reliable in terms of like what you do? How do you respond to this, let's say, critique or thought of people saying like, listen, like we think it's amazing that you can offer it for free, but like we at the bottom line we want to have a solid and reliable contract.
Yeah, so I'll answer on two levels. The first level is you have to remember that for consumers at least, we are offering a completely new alternative which wasn't there. When you would get a contract, an employment contract or residential lease, you can either hire a lawyer or try to do it yourself, right? Google it, read articles about it, whatever. Each alternative has its own downsides. Hiring a lawyer, there's the issue of cost, the issue of who can I trust, and the issue of time that it takes to find a lawyer and for him to handle my stuff. When I go and do it myself, I'm risking misunderstanding the contract, making mistakes, and it's a stressful process for a person that doesn't have a legal background to read something in a language that they simply don't understand, right? It's like gibberish, reading something that you don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so here comes LawGeex, creates a completely new alternative for people that otherwise wouldn't take a lawyer. It's not either a lawyer or LawGeex. Lawyer is not a viable option for me when I'm signing my employment contract. Why? Because it's too expensive, right? Lawyers charge hundreds of dollars an hour. We charge for employment for free, but for other simple contracts, tens of dollars. That's the complete difference. We're creating a whole new alternative for people that don't want to get a complete full-blown review like they would get from a lawyer, but something which is more useful, more cost-effective, something that meets their needs. So this is the first level. The answer is LawGeex is not a lawyer. LawGeex is something different. It's a whole new alternative for handling simple contracts more cost-effectively. This is one thing. The second thing is the way our technology is built is we have a growing database of contracts. With every contract that we see, we become smarter and smarter. Okay, so there's a strong element of machine learning, crowdsourcing built into this technology. So the way you think about it, it's like a lawyer's brain. With every contract that he sees, he becomes more experienced and also charge more money, right? With us, every additional contract that the system sees, it becomes smarter. The difference is that our system doesn't forget anything, right? It's a computer.
Yeah.
So when we look at the next employment contract, we can tell you, compared to a big database of thousands of contracts, what are the problems. This is something a lawyer can't do. He can only tell you, listen, generally, from my experience, this is okay, this is not okay. We are based on hardcore data. This is data-driven decisions. So we are different, but I think in the end, for simple contracts, we make more sense. And we also seen that compared to lawyers, we actually are often more accurate than lawyers because we don't get tired, we don't forget anything. I tell my clients, listen, it's not like you are going to fire a lawyer anytime soon. We're not about that. But if you use us and your lawyer in a smart way, you can definitely save a lot of money on legal fees. And this is the value proposition.
Okay, very good. So I want to shift the conversation a little bit more onto like the Israeli ecosystem, the startup ecosystem.
Yeah.
You recently just raised a $2.5 million round. I saw that in the press release.
Yeah.
So I know it's public knowledge already.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit how did it go? What did you feel? How was the vibe when you raised money?
Yeah, of course. So, like I said, as a background, I was a business lawyer and I helped other companies handle their fundraising. So I know the ins and outs of a fundraising process, and it's not a simple one, like you can imagine. Other than convincing an investor that you're a startup that is worth investing in, even after you you finalize the business due diligence, there's a lot of documentation and processes and technological due diligence and legal due diligence. So it's a complex process. So for me, I would separate my own experience to two parts. One part was meeting with a lot of investors, convincing them that we have something valuable, that they should invest in us and give us our money. give us their money, sorry. And the second part is once we've reached some kind of an understanding, getting the deal through. And that is a challenge on its own. Each of them is a different challenge, and each of them requires different skill sets. For me, I was very experienced on the second part of getting the deal done because I knew that the documents that you need to do, I knew what are the main points that are going to arise in the negotiation. By the way, for most startups, that is also something that they completely don't know about. So we often see startups come to our website and upload investment type of contracts to the website to know what's going on. So like investment term sheets, convertible loans, things like that. So that was the second part. On the first part, for me, it was a very interesting experience. It was the first time I actually was in the focus, standing in the center and convincing people, trust me, invest in me. So it was a very interesting experience. I learned a lot throughout the process. I kept improving, and I can share with you that I met, I think, tens of different investors, until I found the ones that were right for us and that were willing to give us the check. And it's not simple to raise money. You always read about the success stories in the newspaper, but bear in mind that for most companies, either they don't succeed in raising, or even when they do succeed, it takes a lot of time and effort. Sure. It's not in Israel, and I'm sure not in other countries.
Yes. And one last question, just curious to know, like, how was the shift from going, like, being a lawyer into an entrepreneurship mindset?
Yeah, it's a great question. So for me, it was very mind-opening. When I was a lawyer, I really felt I wanted a different challenge. I wanted to build something of my own and manage it and grow it. And this is what I got when I became an entrepreneur. I think you need, being a business lawyer definitely helps, because you're used to working in a stressful environment and having a lot of things on your mind. But the skill set that you need as an entrepreneur is very different. You need a lot more stuff. And I think a couple of days ago I saw on LinkedIn this very interesting graphics talking about what an entrepreneur or CEO needs, what are the skill sets. And they were talking about marketing skill sets, sales, finance, bookkeeping, legal, patenting. You need to do a lot of different things, and for me it was a great challenge, trying to expand my capabilities to other directions.
Okay, good. So thank you very much for this insight into LawGeex. I think it's very interesting. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you soon with the next episode. Bye.
Bye, thank you a lot.